Welcome to our channel, English Stories. Today, I encourage you to join me on a journey through a tale that has influenced countless lives around the globe. A narrative that started more than 2,000 years in the past, but continues to resonate in the souls of many even now. This isn't merely the account of one individual. It's a tale of compassion, selflessness, optimism, and belief. A story that starts quietly in a modest village, without spotlights, rulers, or wealth. Yet, it's a narrative destined to transform humanity eternally. This is the complete biography of Jesus Christ, shared in straightforward English, brimming with feelings, insights, and universal truths for all people. So, prepare your beverage, relax, and allow your spirit to embrace this remarkable adventure. Part 1: The Arrival of Jesus. Ages before Jesus entered the world, the tale commences not with him, but prior to his conception. In those days, humanity anticipated a significant event. Individuals felt exhausted. There was suffering, conflict, and anxiety. The region of Israel fell under Roman control. Many held the conviction that a deliverer, a rescuer, would appear someday. A figure who would deliver harmony, fairness, and encouragement. The Jewish community possessed ancient texts and predictions stating, "A maiden shall bear a child, and he shall be known as Emmanuel," signifying God among us. In the humble village of Nazareth, within a serene household, resided a youthful woman called Mary. She was likely 15 or 16, a gentle and devoted young lady, betrothed to a fellow named Joseph, an unassuming woodworker. They lacked wealth or renown. They were simply everyday folks leading regular existences. However, an astonishing occurrence was on the horizon. One afternoon, while Mary was by herself, a messenger from heaven named Gabriel materialized in front of her. She felt terrified. Picture yourself in your space when abruptly a radiant, luminous angel emerges. Yet, the angel grinned and reassured her, "Fear not, Mary. You are favored by the divine. You shall conceive a boy, and you will call him Jesus. He shall be extraordinary. He will be titled the Son of the Almighty. His realm shall endure forever." Mary was astonished. She responded, "But I remain unmarried. How is this possible?" The angel explained, "The sacred spirit will descend upon you. The infant will be sacred and termed the Son of the Divine." Mary fell silent. Her pulse raced. But then she uttered something profound, "I serve the Lord. May it unfold as you declare." And in that instant, all was altered. Mary journeyed to see her relative Elizabeth, who was also expecting a child, John the Baptist. Upon Mary's arrival at Elizabeth's residence, Elizabeth sensed her unborn child leap within her. She gazed at Mary and proclaimed, "You are favored, and your child is favored." Mary then recited a lovely hymn, exalting the divine with all her being. This instance overflowed with happiness and kinship. Two ladies nurturing the destiny within them. In the meantime, Joseph felt perplexed. He discovered Mary's pregnancy, though they hadn't wed. Being a decent person, he wished to avoid humiliating her. Thus, he resolved to discreetly dissolve the betrothal. However, during the night, an angel visited him in a vision and advised, "Joseph, have no fear. Mary. Her child originates from the divine. Name him Jesus, for he will rescue humanity from their wrongs." Upon awakening, Joseph followed the angel's guidance. He wed Mary. He trusted. He stood by her. Months elapsed. Mary's abdomen expanded. The child was approaching. One day, a Roman leader decreed a registration requiring all to travel to their ancestral towns. Joseph hailed from Bethlehem, David's city. So, he and Mary embarked on the trip. It spanned roughly 90 miles. Mary was far along in her pregnancy. They lacked vehicles or luxuries, perhaps only a donkey for transport. The paths were rough. Evenings grew chilly. Yet they persisted. Weary, but faithful in Jesus' impending birth. Upon arriving in Bethlehem, the town overflowed with visitors. Accommodations were scarce. No lodging remained. At every entrance they approached, the reply was identical: no vacancy. At last, someone provided a modest shelter for livestock. A barn, neither sanitary nor cozy, unfit for childbirth. But it was their only option. There, amid the tranquil evening, Mary delivered Jesus, not in luxury, not in ease, but in modest conditions. She swaddled him in strips of fabric and placed him in a feeding trough, a container for animal fodder. In that unassuming moment, the divine's offspring arrived on earth. Beyond the town, shepherds tended their flocks in the pastures. Abruptly, the heavens illuminated with celestial beings. One declared, "Fear not. I deliver tidings of immense delight. This day in Bethlehem, a Redeemer is born. He is the Messiah, the Sovereign." The firmament then brimmed with angels chanting, "Honor to the divine above. Tranquility on earth for those favored by the divine." The shepherds hurried to the barn. They beheld the infant. They marveled. They shared their experience with all. And Mary, she treasured these events silently in her soul. Distant in the Orient, scholars known as Magi observed a luminous star. They recognized its significance. They pursued the star through wastelands, peaks, and streams. They trusted a mighty monarch had arrived. Upon reaching Bethlehem, they located Jesus alongside Mary and knelt in reverence. They presented offerings of gold, incense, and balm, emblems of royalty, adoration, and offering. Yet, not all rejoiced. King Herod, the current sovereign, learned of a newborn ruler and grew fearful. He dreaded forfeiting his authority. He covertly instructed the Magi, "Locate the child and inform me so I may honor him as well." But he deceived. The Magi received a dream warning against returning to Herod. Thus, they departed via an alternate path. An angel alerted Joseph in a vision, "Seize the child and Mary, flee to Egypt. Herod seeks to slay the child." So, under cover of darkness, Joseph gathered his young family and escaped to Egypt. They remained until Herod's demise. Part 2: The concealed phases of Jesus' life. Following their evasion of King Herod and sojourn in Egypt, Joseph, Mary, and young Jesus returned to Nazareth, their quaint village. Nazareth nestled in Galilee, encircled by slopes and foliage. It lacked prestige or prosperity. But it offered serenity. Here, Jesus passed much of his youth. The inhabitants were unpretentious, cultivators, artisans, herders, women preparing loaves, youngsters frolicking in the dirt. Existence proceeded leisurely. No devices, no illumination, no machinery, just the daylight, breezes, and soil. Mary and Joseph labored diligently. They possessed little wealth, but abundant affection. And Jesus matured. Not solely in stature. He developed intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually. Envision Jesus as a young lad, perhaps 5 or 6. He rose with the dawn. Mary assisted him in cleansing. She prepared basic meals, maybe unleavened bread, fruits, and dairy. Joseph headed to his atelier. As a craftsman, he fashioned timber into furnishings, implements, portals. Jesus occasionally observed nearby, absorbing, inquiring, acquiring skills. He likely aided Mary in domestic tasks too. Perhaps drawing water, assisting with dough preparation, hearing her hum melodies. He engaged with peers. He dashed through meadows. He could have stumbled, injured himself, wept, chuckled. But an uniqueness marked him. Others sensed it. He was compassionate. He was truthful. He avoided falsehoods. He distributed his meals. He tended creatures. He honored seniors. Each evening, his mother narrated tales. Accounts of Moses, Abraham, David, eminent figures of the divine. Gradually, an inner radiance intensified. Let's reflect on Jesus' kin. Mary, his mother, a resilient woman abundant in trust and warmth. Joseph, his mortal guardian, a benevolent and industrious individual. Jesus possessed junior kin as well. Scripture notes Jesus had siblings. Among them were James, Jude, Simon, and Joseph. Thus, Jesus wasn't solitary in upbringing. He had kin. He performed duties. He bore obligations, yet he differed. He was the divine's offspring maturing amid mortals. A poignant youthful anecdote of Jesus occurred at age 12. Annually, Jewish clans journeyed to Jerusalem for Passover, a sacred observance. Thus, Mary, Joseph, and Jesus traveled there with companions. Post-celebration, they commenced the return. But after a day's trek, Mary and Joseph noticed Jesus' absence. Picture their distress. They assumed he accompanied kin, but he didn't. They scoured all areas. For 3 days, they probed streets, alleys, querying folks, weeping, supplicating. At last, they discovered him in the sanctuary, the sacred edifice. What occupied him? He sat amid instructors, experts, sages. He posed queries, responded, astonishing them with his insight. A 12-year-old instructing the learned. Mary approached hastily and inquired, "Child, why cause us this anguish? We fretted so." Jesus regarded her serenely, affectionately, and replied, "Why seek me? Weren't you aware I belong in my Father's domain?" Even at 12, Jesus comprehended his identity. Yet, he humbly accompanied them home. He refrained from boasting. He bided time. He complied. He existed unassumingly. Now ensues an enigmatic period. Scripture reveals scant details of Jesus from 13 to 30. What transpired then? Experts surmise Jesus likely labored as a woodworker alongside Joseph. He assisted villagers mending coverings, constructing furnishings, aiding elders. He studied sacred writings. He communed alone. He roamed hills pondering existence profoundly. He observed humanity, their lifestyles, sorrows, interactions. Gradually, an inner passion ignited. He witnessed the neglected impoverished, the greedy affluent, how compassion faded amid regulations. He beheld agony, illness, inequity. He sensed summoned to act. Yet, he endured patiently, silently for decades. Why? He wasn't hastening to proclaim or heroism. He readied inwardly for a monumental, audacious endeavor that would reshape history. During this era, Joseph presumably passed. Exact timing unknown, but by Jesus' ministry onset, Joseph vanishes from accounts. Thus, as eldest, Jesus assumed household leadership. He supported Mary and siblings. He toiled not for riches, but devotion. This grief, paternal loss, molded his essence. He grasped empathizing with others' suffering. This profundity is immense. Jesus was divine's offspring, yet he experienced humanity fully. He was entirely mortal. He endured famine, dehydration, grief, elation, affection, ache. He grinned, sobbed, hemorrhaged. But he was wholly celestial too. Divine's air-bearing unprecedented luminescence. These quiet epics weren't vacant. They fostered readiness, maturation, forfeiture, profound compassion. He prepared to launch his purpose. Jesus had lingered quietly for nearly 3 decades. He toiled, communed, aided others, shouldered duties. He observed surrounding society, unfairness, destitution, isolation in spirits. Now, an internal voice urged, "The moment arrives." He recognized his purpose commenced. But prior to public outreach, a vital event required. Jesus hungered, yet retorted, "Humanity sustains not solely on loaves, but divine's every utterance." The adversary elevated him to the temple's pinnacle, leap. "If divine's son, messengers will safeguard." Jesus countered, "Refrain from challenging the Lord your divine." Then the adversary displayed global domains, "Kneel to me, all shall be yours." But Jesus, ardently, declared, "Depart, adversary. I adore only divine." The adversary fled. Abruptly, messengers attended him. Jesus emerged from wilderness fortified. His gaze brimmed with verity. His essence overflowed with compassion. His messages poised to revolutionize. He traversed settlements, hamlets. Wherever he proclaimed, "Repent. Heaven's realm nears." He differed from other educators. He avoided regulations and dread. He conveyed authority and benevolence. He mended the ill. He contacted the deemed impure. He conversed with females, youngsters, mendicants, rejects, shunned by society. He absolved wrongdoers. He narrated tales stirring emotions. He gazed into eyes, transforming existences. One day by Galilee's sea, Jesus spotted fishermen Peter and Andrew netting. Jesus uttered, "Follow me, I'll render you captors of souls." Wordlessly, they abandoned nets, trailed him. Then he summoned James and John, Zebedee's offspring. Thus, he assembled a fresh kin, disciples. Not affluent, not celebrated, just receptive ordinary souls. With Jesus, they'd alter history. Jesus taught in assemblies and peaks. Multitudes pursued him. Some sought cure. Some craved his teachings. Some harbored skepticism. All encountered potency. He avoided monotony. He employed allegories, brief tales like a herder seeking stray lamb, sower dispersing seeds variably, patriarch embracing prodigal offspring. Each tale profound, yet accessible. Folks chuckled, sobbed, murmured, "None speaks as this before." He healed not merely forms, but spirits. He urged loving foes, absolving injurers, donating to needy, supplicating privately, ceasing judgment. He offered novel existence, harmony, gentleness, verity. Yet, not all approved. Pharisees, legal experts grew envious, furious. They resented his popularity, his authority, his mercy over customs. They surveilled, shadowed, schemed halts. But Jesus feared not. He merely commenced. Part 3, Wonders, Summits, Throngs, Envy Tempest. Dawn illuminated Galilee's slopes. Atmosphere crisp, yet novelty stirred. Daily, increasing numbers abandoned labors, abodes, ailments to behold him. Jesus bore no currency, no mansion, no steeds or attendants. Yet thousands trailed. not solely for utterances, but deeds. Initial wonders. Once at Cana's nuptials. Melodies played. Attendees danced. Abruptly, issue, wine depleted. Era's grave embarrassment. Kin insulted. Festivity halts. Mary approached Jesus, wine absent. Jesus, my hour unmet. But Mary believed. She instructed attendants, obey him. Jesus directed filling vessels with liquid. They complied. Then, served to host. Host savored, astonished, not mere wine, finest ever. Smiles returned. Tunes resumed. Celebration rescued. Jesus' debut wonder, subtle, intimate, affectionate gift. Rumors circulated, this heals. Once, leper approached Jesus. Body wounded, skin deteriorating. Folks fled him. Untouched years. He knelt, if willing, cleanse me. Jesus advanced, untouched. Willing. Cleanse. Instantly healed. Skin renewed. Another, Jesus instructing indoors. Overcrowded. Pals bore paralyzed man, unable entry. They ascended roof, opened gap, lowered before Jesus. All anticipated cure. Jesus, sins forgiven. Legalists raged, who he? Only divine forgives. Jesus, easier, forgive or walk. To prove power. To man, rise, mat, home. Man arose, ambled, carried mat, departed joyfully tearful. Folks mute. Some awed, fearful, hateful. One dawn, Jesus ascended hill. Thousands trailed, seated. He beheld impoverished, shattered, famished, grieving, spoke tenderly. Blessed humble spirits, heaven's theirs. Blessed mourners, comforted. He instructed novel life, compassion, modesty, serenity. Said, love adversaries. Pray injurers. Conceal prayers, gifts. Ignore tomorrow. Trust divine. Words gentle, piercing. Not mandates. Essence. One dusk, Jesus, disciples boated lake. He slumbered exhausted. Storm erupted. Winds howled. Waves assaulted. Boat flooded. Disciples terrified, Master, perish. Jesus arose. Amid chaos, quiet, still. Instantly calm. Silence. Disciples whispered, who? Winds, seas heed. Another, vast throng hillside. Listened daylong, now starved. No provisions near. Boy offered 5 loaves, 2 fish. Jesus thanked heaven, broke, distributed. Food persisted, expanded. Over 5,000 males, plus females, youngsters fed fully. 12 baskets surplus. Jesus learned friend Lazarus deceased. Arriving village, Lazarus 4 days gone. Sisters Mary, Martha wept. Martha, Lord, presence saved brother. Jesus lovingly, I resurrection, life. Believers live post-death. To grave, cave, stone sealed. Remove stone. Shocked, Lord, days dead. Stone shifted. Jesus prayed. Shouted, Lazarus, emerge. Lazarus exited alive, bound. Gasps. Some believed, others reported leaders. Leaders now scrutinized Jesus. Witnessed wonders. Throngs expanding. Heard potent words. Feared. Power loss. Change. Whispered, dangerous. Swaying masses. Halt him. Secret plots, spies, vulnerabilities sought. But Jesus persisted, mending, loving, instructing. Knew ahead, undeterred. Morning sun mild. Breeze gentle hills, air shifted. Jesus advanced toward destiny. Solely he grasped fully. He progressed to Jerusalem, grand metropolis, deliberately. New awaiting. Yet advanced. Disciples misunderstood. Thought kingship, Roman liberation, perfection. But Jesus knew, kingdom unearthly. Everywhere Jesus went, crowds followed. Thousands walked for days just to see his face or hear his voice. People touched the edge of his clothes. Mothers lifted their babies for his blessing. Children ran to him and held his hands. But the more famous he became, the more alone he was. He knew many followed for miracles, for bread, for healing, but few really understood his heart. At night, he often went up the mountain all alone to pray. He talked to his Father in heaven for hours, sometimes all night. His heart was full of love, but also sorrow because he saw what others could not see. One day, Jesus entered a town called Jericho. People filled the streets trying to see him. There was a man named Zacchaeus. He was rich. He was a tax collector. People hated him because he often took extra money and kept it. But Zacchaeus wanted to see Jesus. The problem, he was very short. So he ran ahead of the crowd and climbed a sycamore tree to get a better view. As Jesus passed by, he stopped under the tree, looked up, and said, "Zacchaeus, come down. I must stay at your house today." People were shocked. "He's going to eat with a sinner." But Zacchaeus was touched. He came down joyfully and said, "Lord, I will give half my money to the poor, and if I've cheated anyone, I'll pay them back 4 times. Jesus smiled and said, "Today, salvation has come to this house." In a small village, Jesus visited a home for dinner. While everyone was eating, a woman quietly entered. She carried a jar of very expensive perfume, maybe all she owned. She didn't speak. She went straight to Jesus. With tears in her eyes, she fell at his feet. Her tears touched his feet. She wiped them with her hair. Then she poured the perfume on his feet and kissed them again and again. The people around were shocked. Why is he letting her touch him? She's a sinful woman. But Jesus said, "She has shown great love. Her many sins are forgiven. Wherever my story is told, her love will be remembered." Jesus had many followers, but he chose 12 men to be his closest companions. They were not rich, not educated, just fishermen, tax collectors, and normal men. Their names were Peter, James, John, Andrew, Philip, Bartholomew, Matthew, Thomas, James, son of Alphaeus, Simon the Zealot, Thaddeus, and Judas Iscariot. He lived with them, walked with them, ate with them. He laughed with them, cried with them, taught them everything about God, about love, about life. They were his family. But he knew one of them would soon betray him. People sometimes tried to keep children away from Jesus. But he said, "Let the little children come to me. Don't stop them. The kingdom of heaven belongs to them." He lifted them in his arms. He blessed them. He told everyone to become like them. Simple, trusting, pure. Jesus often told parables, short stories with deep meanings. They were easy to understand but full of truth. One day he told the story of the Good Samaritan. A man was beaten by robbers and left on the road. A priest and a religious man passed by. They didn't help. But a Samaritan, someone from a group Jews didn't like, stopped. He helped the man, cleaned his wounds, carried him to safety, and paid for his care. Jesus said, "Go and do the same." Another day, he told about the prodigal son. A young man took his father's money and ran away. He wasted it all and became poor and hungry. He came back home ashamed. But the father ran to him, hugged him, kissed him, and celebrated. Jesus said, God is like that father, always ready to welcome his lost children. As Jesus came near Jerusalem, he looked at the city, beautiful, busy, full of people. And he began to cry. Jerusalem, how often I wanted to gather your children like a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, but you were not willing. He saw what others didn't. The pain, the blindness, the danger coming. His heart broke, not for himself, but for the people. Near Jerusalem, Jesus saw a fig tree full of leaves, but when he checked, there was no fruit. He said, "May no one ever eat fruit from you again." The next day, the tree was withered. It was a message. Looking good outside is not enough. A heart without fruit is empty. Then he went into the temple, the house of God. He saw people buying and selling, cheating others. Jesus became angry. He turned over the tables and said, "My Father's house shall be a house of prayer, but you have made it a den of thieves." People were shocked. Some cheered. Others began to hate him more. Among the 12, one heart was changing. Judas Iscariot. He began to feel disappointed. Maybe he wanted money. Maybe he wanted Jesus to become a powerful king, not a suffering servant. He secretly met with the religious leaders. They offered him 30 silver coins to betray Jesus. And he agreed, but no one knew. He smiled. He walked with the others. He listened to Jesus' words. But his heart was far away. Jesus spent the last days teaching in the temple. He talked about forgiveness, about humility, about being ready for God. He said, "The greatest among you must be your servant. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind. Love your neighbor as yourself." Every evening he walked out of the city to a quiet hill called the Mount of Olives. He would sit with his disciples under the stars. He would pray. He would warn them. "Soon the Son of Man will be handed over. You will all run. But don't be afraid. I have overcome the world." His words were full of love, full of pain, full of peace. He knew what was coming, but he chose love. He chose to stay. The city of Jerusalem was busy. Lamps were burning. People were walking. Sounds of laughter came from homes. But in one small room away from the noise, something holy was happening. Jesus had asked 2 of his disciples to find a place. "Go," he said. "You will meet a man carrying a jar of water. Follow him. He will show you a room. Prepare a meal there." They did exactly that. And as the evening came, Jesus entered that quiet room with his 12 closest friends. The room was simple. A low table, bread, wine, the smell of cooked lamb, the sound of sandals brushing the floor. Jesus looked at the faces of his disciples, eyes he loved, feet he had walked beside, hands he had held. He knew this would be their last supper together. He stood up quietly, took off his outer robe, wrapped a towel around his waist. Then slowly he went to each of them and began to wash their feet. Not just Peter, not just John, but all, even Judas. The room was silent. Peter said, "Lord, you can't wash my feet." Jesus answered gently, "If I don't wash you, you have no part with me." Peter, full of emotion, said, "Then wash all of me." Jesus smiled. "You are already clean, but not all of you." He knew Judas had already made his decision, but still he washed him. Still he loved him. After washing their feet, Jesus returned to the table. He took the bread in his hands, held it up. He looked at them slowly, one by one, then broke the bread. "Take this and eat. This is my body given for you." Then he lifted the cup. "Drink from this, all of you. This is my blood, the new promise poured out for the forgiveness of sins." Their hands shook as they took it. Their eyes didn't fully understand, but their hearts could feel. Something deep was happening. Then his voice became soft. "One of you will betray me tonight." Silence fell like heavy rain. One by one they looked at each other, confused, scared. "Is it me, Lord? Is it me?" Jesus said, "It is the one who dips his bread with me." At that moment, Judas dipped his bread. Jesus looked at him, not in anger, but with pain and love. He said quietly, "What you are about to do, do it quickly." Judas stood, his face was cold, his hands tight, his heart dark, and he left. After the meal, Jesus and the others left the room. The night was cool, the stars were out. They walked toward a quiet place, the Garden of Gethsemane. Along the way, Jesus spoke many final words, words full of love, full of hope, full of goodbye. He said, "Do not let your hearts be troubled. In my Father's house are many rooms. I go to prepare a place for you. I am the vine. You are the branches. Stay connected to me. Love one another as I have loved you." No one has greater love than this, to lay down his life for his friends. He knew his time was near, but his voice was calm. His heart was still full of peace. They reached the garden. He said to his disciples, "Sit here while I go and pray." Then he took Peter, James, and John with him. His face had changed. He was deeply troubled. He said, "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow. Stay here. Watch with me." He walked a little farther. Then he fell to the ground. And he prayed, "Father, if it is possible, take this cup from me, but not my will. Your will be done." His hands gripped the ground. His forehead touched the dirt. His tears fell like rain. He was in so much pain that his sweat became like drops of blood. He returned to his disciples. They were sleeping. He gently woke them. "Could you not stay awake with me for 1 hour?" Again. He went to pray again. He came back again. They were asleep. He didn't shout. He didn't leave them. He understood their weakness. He prayed alone, but never with anger. Always with love. As the stars moved across the sky, a sound came from the distance. Footsteps, torches, swords. Jesus stood calmly. Judas was leading them. He walked forward, smiling. He kissed Jesus on the cheek and said, "Greetings, Rabbi." Jesus looked into his eyes. "Judas, do you betray the Son of Man with a kiss?" The soldiers came forward. Peter pulled out a sword. He cut off a man's ear, but Jesus said, "Put your sword away." He touched the man's ear and healed him. Even in betrayal, Jesus healed. Even in the darkest moment, he showed kindness. They tied Jesus' hands, led him away. His disciples ran, fear in their hearts. Only Peter and John followed from far behind. The same crowd that once shouted Hosanna was now full of people who came with ropes and lies. But Jesus didn't fight. He walked slowly, peacefully. He was not just walking toward pain. He was walking toward love. He knew this was not the end, but a beginning. Peter followed. His heart was confused. He waited outside the house where Jesus was taken. A servant girl saw him. "Aren't you one of his followers?" Peter said quickly. "No, I don't know him." Another said, "I saw you with him." "I swear I don't know the man." 3 times, Peter denied. And then a rooster crowed. Peter remembered Jesus' words. Before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times. Peter ran outside and he wept bitterly. His heart was broken, but not forever. While others slept, Jesus was being questioned, hit, laughed at, spit on, but he said nothing. Not because he was weak, but because he was full of strength and love. That night, the world became colder, but his heart was still warm. Waiting for morning. Waiting for the cross. Part 4. The cross, the cry, and the unending love. The sun had not yet risen. The sky was still dark. But inside the high priest's court, Jesus was already standing, hands tied, face swollen, blood on his cheeks. The religious leaders questioned him, not because they wanted to know the truth, but because they wanted a reason to kill him. They took him to Pilate, the Roman governor. Pilate looked at him, silent, calm, wounded. He asked, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus answered, "You say that I am." The crowd outside was growing, angry voices, shouts. People were waking up early, not for work or prayer, but to scream. "Crucify him! Kill him! We want Barabbas!" Pilate asked why. What crime has he done? But the crowd didn't care about truth. They only cared about hate. Pilate washed his hands. "I am innocent of this man's blood." And Jesus was handed over. The soldiers took him. They laughed. They mocked. They put a purple robe on him. They made a crown out of thorns, sharp, cruel, and pushed it onto his head. Blood ran down his forehead. They hit him with sticks, spit on him, knelt before him, pretending he was a king. Then they took off the robe, gave him his own clothes, and made him carry a heavy wooden cross. His back was already bleeding from the whips. But still he walked. Step by step, pain by pain, he fell again and again. A man named Simon from Cyrene was pulled from the crowd to help him carry the cross. Women cried as he passed. He looked at them, not angry, but with love. "Don't cry for me," he said. "Cry for yourselves and your children." The hill was called Golgotha, the place of the skull. There they laid him down on the wood. One soldier held his right arm. Another held his left. A third took a nail. And with one heavy hammer blow, it began. Through the flesh, through the bone, through the wood, one hand, then the other, then his feet, and they lifted the cross. The sky looked down in silence. The earth held its breath. People stood around watching. Some laughed, some cried, some just stared. He was not alone. 2 criminals were also hanging. One on his left, one on his right. One shouted, "If you're the Son of God, save yourself and us." The other said, "We deserve this." But he has done nothing wrong. "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." Jesus turned his head even in pain. His voice was soft. "Today you will be with me in paradise." Below the cross stood his mother Mary. Her eyes full of tears, her heart breaking, her baby bleeding, dying. Beside her stood John, the disciple Jesus loved. Jesus looked at them. Even in pain, he thought of them. He said, "Woman, here is your son." And to John, "Here is your mother." The sky began to change. Dark clouds covered the sun. It was noon and suddenly a darkness fell over the land. 3 hours of silence, 3 hours of pain, 3 hours of heaven watching. Then Jesus spoke. His voice was weak, but his words were strong. "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." He didn't shout curses. He didn't ask for revenge. He asked for mercy for those who hurt him. The crowd went quiet. His body was shaking. His lips dry. He whispered, "I thirst." A soldier took a sponge, dipped it in sour wine, lifted it to his mouth. Jesus tasted it. Then he looked up. His final moment had come. His chest lifted. His eyes stared at heaven. He cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" The pain in his body was nothing compared to the silence from the Father. But even then, he did not give up. He took one final breath and then said the words that changed the world forever. "It is finished." He lowered his head and whispered, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." And he died. The earth shook, rocks broke, tombs opened, the sky cried. The curtain in the temple, thick, tall, strong, tore in two. From top to bottom, the way to God was now open. A Roman soldier standing nearby whispered, "Surely this man was the Son of God." His body was taken down gently, wrapped in linen, placed in a tomb, a stone rolled in front. Silence. But this is not the end. After Jesus died on the cross, his body was placed in a tomb. A big stone was rolled in front of the tomb to close it. Soldiers stood outside to guard it, so no one could go in or take his body. People were heartbroken. His followers thought it was over. The man they loved was gone. But then something unbelievable happened. 3 days later, early in the morning, some women came to the tomb, but the stone was rolled away. The tomb was empty. At first, they were shocked, confused. Where was Jesus? Then an angel appeared and said, "Do not be afraid. Jesus is not here. He has risen." Jesus came back to life. Yes, truly. He defeated death. After that, he appeared to his followers. Not just once, but many times. He showed them his hands. He talked to them. He ate with them. He gave them hope again. He was alive just like he had promised. It was not the end. It was a new beginning. Jesus proved that love is stronger than death. That truth and light will always win. And now, my dear friends, before we end this powerful journey, let's take a moment to remember what Jesus truly taught us. He didn't just live. He loved deeply. He didn't just speak. He healed, forgave, and lifted others. He didn't wear a crown of gold. He wore a crown of thorns and still chose to forgive. He didn't build a palace. He built hearts. What can we learn from his life? Love everyone, even those who hurt you. Be kind and honest, even when the world is unfair. Help others, even if you get nothing in return. Speak the truth, even when it's hard. Forgive even when they don't say sorry. Believe in yourself. You are here for a reason. Never give up, even when it hurts. Jesus showed us that true strength is not in fighting but in forgiving. True power is not in having everything but in giving everything. And true success is not fame or money. It is in how many lives you touch. So if today you feel broken, lost or tired, remember Jesus was also betrayed, hurt and alone, but he still chose love and that love changed the world. Now my friends, if this story touched your heart, if you learned something new today, if you believe that love, kindness, and truth still matter, then please subscribe to our channel for more beautiful stories like this to learn English through powerful life lessons. Let's grow together, learn together, and make this world a little better. One story at a time. Thank you for watching. May love and peace always be with you.